Good day, guys. If you like what you're seeing, consider liking and subscribing to my channel. Today, we're just going to be producing a belt for a customer. We're going to get started with dyeing. It's going to be a nice timber brown. I like using gloves just to keep all the dye off my hands. I'm going to be using a dauber. Make sure you shake up the dye. Nice even strokes. This dye is made by EcoFlow. It's a water-based dye. Goes on pretty good. Doesn't dry out the leather. Alright, right here, you want to pay attention to when you're gluing up or using any type of glue, because if you get it on the face of the leather, it's going to be impossible to get that dye to impregnate onto the leather and really seep into it to get it stained. Now we're going to be shifting focus and getting all of our edges dyed, and in a lot of spots we're going to be trying to fight the glue, and there's a purpose behind going ahead and staining the edges now, and I'll explain that here in a bit. But for now, let's just go ahead and keep working on these edges. And you only want to put enough dye on the dauber to get the edge, but at the same time keep it from rolling over the face and the back of your leather, and you're not oversaturating it to mess up the rest of the piece. Alright, now we're going to take our number 3 edge beveler and go around and trim up the edge all the way around the belt. Now, the particular edge bevelers I use give it a rounded edge. right here. I've already pre-punched the face of the belt. Now I'm just going to match the holes on the back side of the belt using a number 3 hole punch. Right here, I'm using a little bit of beeswax, a trick that I learned early on. Now I'm going to be switching up to a number 4 hole punch and lining up the holes on the tongue of the belt. Nice, quick, simple, and easy. Now we're going to switch things up and grab the oblong punch and get that punched out. And there we go. That one's all cut out and good to go. Alright, now we're going to get started on sewing this belt up. I'm using a Weaver 303 with some regular thread that I got off Amazon. It's set on a number 3 stitch length. And I'm going at a medium pace. And I wouldn't say I'm an expert at stitching by no stretch of the imagination. So I just have to keep a steady check at what I'm doing and make sure I'm not going crazy or stupid when I'm sewing. Alright, now that I'm done sewing, I'm cutting the thread, trimming off the excess thread, burning it, that way it cannot pull back out. Alright, here is the leather belt after it is stitched, polished, stained, well, technically dyed, and finished. Everything except for the edges. The edges have been sanded, and everything else, they have not been burnished yet. So now I'm just going through and touching up the edges with that same timber brown dye. And again, I'm just hitting it with just enough dye to get the edges and not the face or the back of the belt. Okay, right here I have made my own belt jig, and I'm using my wood slicker to polish up and burnish the edges of the belt. And the important key thing you guys got to remember here, it's not about pressure, it's about speed and friction. The speed and friction is what causes the burnish, not the pressure. A lot of people will use token oil, and that is exactly what I use. You can use the leather dye itself. That is perfectly acceptable. A lot of people will use water. A lot of people will use a bunch of other items. I have personally found that if I don't use the leather dye, I will use token oil. That is my go-to substance that I have found that personally does the best and easiest job to burnish my edges, just hands down. I haven't found any other liquid substance that does it any better. If you guys have any other opinions, leave it down in the comments and let me know. I'm willing to try anything else. Okay, so now we're going to start putting on the buckle. And yes, I'm not going to delete this part. I started putting the buckle on backwards. And when I realized it, I pulled it off and fixed my own mistake. I'm also using a little 1-pound anvil. With most snap rivets that you can get from a store, they come with a little bar and anvil set. I don't like using the little anvil. It's more of a headache. It's a little round disc. So I picked up the little 1-pound anvil right there on my workbench off of Amazon. They're relatively dirt cheap, but as you can see, it makes it a lot easier to work with. Now, off camera, I did make a belt loop and put it in place. I apologize that I did not get that on camera or any photos before I delivered the belt to the customer. Next belt video I make, I will make sure to include that on the video itself.